Hey friends, welcome back. This is episode 108, and we're going to talk about emotions, specifically embracing emotions.
Embracing emotions.
Um, I think I'll let you because you brought up when we were talking about emotions, grief. I think grief has been the one for you that's kind of been present for the last few years.
It has. And, I've done a lot of work around grief, and it's one of those, like, I've come to a point in my life where, like, I felt like I was appreciating grief. Like, oh, okay, but grief comes in waves, right? It's never just like emotions. They're not always constant. But I still felt, been a few years since I lost my dad, but it still felt like when I get these waves of grief and emotion, they would take over, right? And I always felt like there was resistance there. Like I was like, okay, and I've talked to a lot of folks, right? Like I used to be a grief counselor in another life. And there's no certain set of time, right? Like it's okay to grieve for as long as we need to. There's no like certain set of time, like, oh, it's been a few years, you should get over it by now.
Yeah.
And so I'm very careful. Like I don't think those thoughts. I don't approach my grief that way. But there's still times like, hey, you're in the middle of driving somewhere, I'm in the middle of appointments, right? And something kind of triggers that wave, and there's still like, I would resist it and I would fight it and be like, okay, keep it together, Carmen, like I need to finish XYZ, I need to finish this project, I need to get where I need to go. So I got to see to drive. And when I looked at grief, so I've seen like people will describe grief as a gift, right?
Okay.
And so I tried to, appreciate that and be like, I can appreciate grief because it helps me see things a different way, right? It's that idea of, aren't you glad that you've loved, right? Yeah. But that makes it that loss that much harder. But I forgot why I initially brought this up with you, but when I was listening to something and they said, look at grief as like embrace it, right? Like look at it as an old friend that is stopping in to say hi. And when I did that, to me, it was like, oh my gosh, right? Like I was resisting it before because it's like, I want to hold it together. I got to keep my composure. I don't want to, keep crying about this loss. And so you're fighting it. But when I embraced it and was like, oh, hey, there's that grief. Like, it's good to see you again. Like this, as a friend. And oh my goodness, it just washes away so much quicker. Right. So instead of, it affecting me and me being down and gloom for the rest of the day, it was like, oh, that was just a few minutes. And then it's more peaceful. Right. And this light bulb went off like, oh, I'm usually pretty good about feeling emotions, but grief is one of those that's hard. Yeah, I think for a lot of people, but it's been particularly hard for me. But when I was able to embrace it and be like, oh, I not just appreciate you, like I welcome that, and those memories that are coming up. And so instead of that resistant and like fighting, those tears, it was like a happiness. Yeah. And I didn't ever think of grief to be like a happiness, like this welcoming, warm, embracing thing. And so that's really helped me. And so I thought, yeah, it'd be a cool thing to talk about today and share.
Yeah. Emotions, the humans I've studied. Yeah, I will say I've studied emotions a lot. And the more I coach, the more I want to learn about the brain and emotions. And it's so interesting doing that research and learning like how these where the emotions come from and different types of emotions, right? And the different philosophies. So in the therapy world, my bachelor's and my master's in counseling, and you have a social work master's, maybe you can confirm or deny. And I saw a post the other day that reaffirmed that logic for me. I was taught like behaviors, you have to act your way out of emotions, right?
Okay.
Like fake it till you make it.
Oh, yes. Oh,
right?
good grief. Yes.
That we can't control
Let's hear that.
emotions.
Yeah.
Like this post from this counselor literally said, we cannot control emotions. We can just like try to like change something and do an action to feel a different emotion.
Oh, I see. Yes, redirecting.
Yes.
That's what we were taught. Redirect.
Right.
Yes. Mhm.
Right. And let's see what else. Like we can't really control our thoughts. We can't control our emotions. We can just kind of like control our perspective or reaction to a situation.
Mhm.
Right.
Yes.
Which back then I thought like that was the truth.
Right.
They were the experts teaching me that, right?
Yeah.
Like, okay, fine. And the whole reason I went into that world, well, not the whole reason, but like now that I have more insight, really the whole reason was I felt like my emotions were out of control. I felt like they ran me.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Like I was a victim to my emotions. Like I didn't know where they came from. I didn't know how to stop them. I didn't know how to like switch out to another one. I would never know where one would come from or not.
Yeah.
You know, like it felt so powerless.
Right.
So seeing that, I was like, oh, well, no wonder this is what we're teaching the humans. I am like, I'm proud of myself because I'm finally coming to a place in my journey that I can start standing on my own 2 feet and like be willing to go against the grain publicly.
Yeah.
I am adamantly against that stuff. Because I have evidence now, like studying, you know, what Brooke has taught me, the coaching world, and then studying, I'm in a course right now about positive intelligence, and he has a lot of neuroscience to go with this, brain science, and then positive psychology, and like all these different, I don't know, practices, or what do you call them? Like camps of philosophies, like
fields of thought.
Yes,
thought fields. Yeah.
Yeah. And they all are like saying the same thing, which is what me and you have come to believe, right?
Yeah.
We have a thought, which is one neuron firing and another neuron, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Neuron, we have synapses, we have a neuron firing, and then
it fires and sends a signal.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Which we know is chemical, right? Neurotransmitters.
Yeah, it's a chemical process.
Yes. Okay. What I understand is this, how I conceptualize it is we have this neuron firing, right? Which is communicating with our brain. Our brain is this amazing computer, and that's the language it speaks, right? And so all of these neuron firings is coding, let's just say, to stay with us, okay? But coding my arm does not understand coding. Yeah. My ovaries do not understand coding. They are biochemical.
Right. Your brain has to interpret that. Yep. It interprets those signals and those electrons. And then it processes it, interprets it, and then sends out different signals to your arm, to your ovaries.
Yes. And I call those emotions.
Yes.
Right. So emotions are the brain's most efficient way of communicating with the body. Okay, so I'll use the example of how I got there. So pretend that there is a lion, right? And he's growling and he's angry. We would not survive as humans if my body depended on logic. Oh, there's a lion.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I should elevate my heart. I should do vasoconstriction and vasodilation. I should dump some cortisol and some adrenaline. I would be murdered.
Yeah, you wouldn't make it.
Right?
You wouldn't make it.
So I think the brain has created a very efficient system.
Yes.
We have a thought, it creates a chemical response, which can travel very quickly to the body, notifying the body of what is going on outside of us. So my body can respond with automatic elevation of heart rate, blood pressure, right? It's getting ready for the lion.
Right.
Okay, so long foundational there, right? And Brooke teaches that. Brooke teaches that our thoughts create our emotions, what I just described. And I have found by doing this work, there's 2 other ways that emotions are created. There's that way, then trauma trauma bypasses thoughts,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's survival,
Yeah.
right? That's it. Like we throw the word trauma around, and it's just a situation which has threatened your survival. The brain now has coded a survival reaction to
Yes.
situations that are similar to that. So then it doesn't have to have thoughts that create emotion. It's this situation is just like that old situation that was threatening my survival. I know exactly what chemicals to release.
The pattern's the same.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So trauma emotions, right? And then we have the third category, which is chemical, hormonal, neurotransmitter emotions, right?
Yes.
Like women are very familiar with that. With our periods, like our progesterone levels are off.
Yeah.
You get that really cranky irritability, right? It has nothing to do with thoughts or trauma. It's a chemical influence on the body.
Right. So instead of coming from the brain, it comes from, the chemical signals that from our hormones, comes from our hormones.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now we're all on the same page with this.
Yeah.
We don't know what to do with emotions. We're taught that they just like, we can't control them. We just have to like change the actions to go feel differently, right?
Yeah.
Basically, we are programmed to push them down because we don't understand them. We don't know what to do with them, right?
Right.
All humans are born with like this spectrum, right, of emotions. That's it.
Yeah.
It's just a spectrum. It's not good. It's not bad. It's not
Right.
negative. It's not positive. It's you have this spectrum of emotions. It's like a buffet,
Right.
to
Yeah.
choose from, right? We want that buffet.
Right.
Right.
That's what makes us unique as human beings versus other mammals.
Right.
Is that we have that buffet and you get to, experience all those levels of emotion.
Yeah. I want to feel angry when someone runs over my cat.
Yeah.
I don't want to be happy about that.
It.
I want to feel grief when my father dies.
Yeah.
I don't want to be excited.
Right.
Right. So we want this buffet of emotions and we don't understand them. We don't know what to do with them. So we just try to we chase outside things to feel a different emotion.
Yeah.
Right. We push them down. We suppress them. We ignore them. And we spend a hell of a lot of time arguing with them.
And we fight them. Yeah. Yes.
Right. And so we're just like resisting. And I like to think of like their energy. Emotions are energy.
Yes.
When you focus on something, you spend energy on it. Right.
Yeah.
So when you spend time resisting emotions, you are giving them more energy.
Okay.
They grow.
True.
What
I've
we
experienced
resist persists.
Okay.
Resistance is persistence, right?
Yes.
So resisting emotions is feeding them energy and they just keep growing and growing, right?
Yeah.
But when we can understand like, they're just emotions are temporary. They're chemical, energetic things that are in our body. That's it. They will change, right? We're not going to get stuck in them forever. Right. They're not going to overtake us. Those were thoughts that my brain used to offer me.
Yeah.
And we can embrace them and understand my brain has communicated some message to my body and my body is trying to tell me something. That's it.
Yeah. Recognizing that emotion is signaling. It's just a signaling.
All it is.
Yeah. That makes so much sense. I see how we're programmed, right, to be accepting of some of the emotions on that buffet.
Yes.
Yeah. Where we rejoice and promote those emotions that we perceive as positive, right? Like happy emotions, right? So even like for depression and sadness, that can be, it's been stigmatized for a long time because they're considered negative emotions, or you shouldn't feel depressed, or you shouldn't feel
or there's something wrong with
angry,
you.
don't express yourself. And so we fight those things. If that has been part of your programming, you fight those things. And also, those emotions can be a little bit uncomfortable, but that makes sense. The more you fight it, you're putting more energy in it. And of course it's going to be magnified. So it's gonna, throw off your whole day or disrupt your whole pattern, because you put energy into it.
What's super interesting is that we continue, like, think about this. People that are experiencing depression, you're mentally ill.
You're feeding that.
I mean, that's what society is programmed, right?
Yeah.
You shouldn't feel depression.
Yeah.
If you're depressed, you're mentally ill.
Yeah.
If you're depressed, that's a bad emotion, right? There's something wrong with you. You're broken. Instead of saying, yeah, it's an emotion. It's one of the hundreds of emotions on the spectrum.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, it's a signal. What is it trying to tell you?
Yeah. 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 Because we get this idea of, especially around depression, we've got to fix that. Right.
Oh, yeah.
You should feel happy.
Something's wrong with
Yeah.
you.
Something's wrong. We've got to fix it here. Here's a prescription, or here's therapy even to fix that. It's like, well, it's not really broken.
Right.
Yeah. It's an emotion your body's trying to tell you something. Yeah. Let's figure out what that is.
There's a good book. It's called The Secret Language of Emotions. And like, he breaks down like anger, what the message anger is trying to tell us is that wasn't fair towards me.
Okay.
Guilt, according to the author, guilt is I did something unfair to someone else.
Yeah.
Right. Like there's a message behind these emotions.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Depression is kind of like, according to him, it's I have a need that's not being met, and I keep trying to meet it and I can't meet it.
Okay.
I feel hopeless.
Yes.
Depressed. It's just, depression is, there's a need that's not being met.
Right. Yeah. That makes sense. Because if you're trying to look at that emotion and figure out, what's it trying to teach me, or what's it, telling me, what am I not listening to?
Yeah.
I mean, that's when the real work begins.
Right.
Yeah. And understanding, instead of just, well, let's, redirect with affirmations. Let's redirect with, I don't know, something else.
Fake it till you make it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
So I like to tell my clients, like, when we're in this, like, they're not quite there yet where they want to, we call it process your emotions, right? They're like, not really down for that yet, right? So I like to describe a visual of a beach ball. Okay. So a beach ball is your emotion, your grief. Okay. You're in water, you're standing in water, you've got your beach ball there, and you're trying to hold that beach ball underwater.
Okay.
So you just keep pushing on that beach ball, keep pushing on it, like, no, I want it to stay down, right? I'm pushing it down. That's pretty tiring after 4 hours of pushing on that beach ball. Right. And so then you kind of like relax a little bit and you let the beach ball come up, right? And you're like, oh, no. And we push it down again. That is resistance of emotions. That's why it's so painful. Emotions become so painful, as we're putting so much energy into pushing the beach ball down. It makes the emotion even more tense and compounded with other emotions, because I am so frustrated. I'm so tired. I'm so exhausted of pushing this beach ball down.
Yeah. Oh, I love that analogy. Okay. So I'm going to take just a little bit of a left turn. Okay. This is how we address chronic pain as well.
Okay, tell me more.
So, or maybe not chronic pain, but pain. So say, it's not my best example, but an example, women who are giving birth. Right. They teach women to breathe through that pain to release that. So, because the more that you fight it and you strain and you press down, and you try to suppress that pain, the worse it intensifies, the worse it gets. So if you breathe through that pain, do the same thing when you're like giving blood or you're getting a shot. If you breathe through that, it doesn't hurt, or it's a significantly lot less pain, because just like your emotions are sending signals to your body, the same thing, pain receptors are chemical signals. Okay. So in my mind, I can make that tangent. Hopefully I didn't lose anybody, but it's the exact same idea. That beach ball, the more that you like resist it and push it down, it intensifies that reaction.
Yep.
So yeah, especially I used to work in an IV lab. So we would do IVs. And when you do blood draw, especially like in kids, you teach kids to breathe through it, because if they resist, it's going to be more painful when they draw blood or when you stick them with a needle.
Yeah.
Versus, that releasing it and breathing through it and being like, like it may be painful, but it's not going to be near as intense if you push it down and resist it.
Yes, exactly.
So, yeah, that's how I relate that in my world. Yeah,
yep. Same thing. Yeah. So now that we kind of understand where emotions come from, the different types of emotions, why resisting it, pushing it down, ignoring it, suppressing it, buffering over it creates more in higher intensity, more painful,
magnifies
right?
it.
Right. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about like how to deal with them then.
Yeah.
Okay. So according to me and my camp, right, like emotions are created by us, and we can create different emotions. Right. I do not agree with the part of the therapy world that says like we can't control them. Yes, we can. Right. We can we may not control when some of them come.
Right.
But we can control how long they're there and how intense they are.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
And we can control whether we move out of them quickly or whether we choose to stay in them for hours, days, weeks, months, years. That is on us.
That's true. Yeah. I know that we have said this often. And when folks say you can control your reaction, right? Like you can't control anything else, but you can control your reaction. I don't think they recognize, even within the therapy world, that means your emotions as well, not just your like physical reaction, what you say, what you do in response to something, but also what you think.
Yep. Absolutely. I'm with you on that. So I love, and what I do with my clients is it's kind of comes out of somatic therapy.
Okay.
Which is emotions are the way the brain communicates with the body.
Yes.
Right. So they're a body response. Okay. So then we just go to the body to release the emotions.
Oh, okay. Yes.
And that's what somatic therapy is that you find a safe place, right? Do you feel comfortable in? A lot of times, like let's say these are trauma or usually trauma. If you're going to process trauma, like I would say if it's like deep, like definitely have someone do it with you, professional. But you have to create safety for your brain first.
Yes.
Your brain has to know, I am safe. We're in a safe place. I can trust you, the human that has these emotions with these. Right. I trust you take care of me. So then we can move to the parasympathetic nervous system. So then we're in the safe place. And we have to always start with the breath, right? 3, 5 diaphragmatic breaths, like belly breaths to calm the system, right? And then I have my clients just close their eyes and then do a body scan. Start from the top of their head, slowly just go every body part, scanning, breathing, looking for places of tightness or pain or tension or just discomfort.
Yeah.
And when they find that place in their body, then they have to take 3 breaths into it and then describe. Like you were having to describe this emotion to a 2-year-old. Well, when I feel anxiety, it's like right there in my chest. It feels really tight. It feels like my heart's racing. It feels like my whole body's tingling. It feels like it kind of pulsates from out here, like color, temperature, texture, size, weight. Right? Like describing it. And then after they've described it, 2 more breaths or however many, and then ask that emotion what it's trying to tell you. what message do you have for me? What are you trying to tell me? And then we sit quietly and hold space for it.
Yeah.
Right. If you need to cry, you cry, like whatever, you know, like you just allow yourself to feel that emotion.
Right.
Once you've heard something, maybe not. Sometimes people don't. It's
Yeah.
just like to hold the space for it. And then we re-breathe, go back into that space and we reevaluate. How does it feel now?
Yeah.
And then we can come back to the present, opening our eyes, coming back, right?
Right.
Other ways is like closing your eyes and then feeling each one of your toes, like wiggling each toe.
Yeah.
Right. Or taking your fingers and rubbing fingers together.
Yeah.
Or closing your eyes and listening for the sounds the farthest out.
Yeah.
And then the sounds the closest in.
Okay. Yeah.
Or you can sit and look at one object and like look at that, just like stare at that object, all the texture, the color, all the details of that object, right? So it's getting back into the body and the senses to allow that energy, that emotion to like chemically dissipate, I guess.
Discharge.
Discharge.
Yeah. It's like a discharge, like an emotional release kind of discharge.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then after that, like just like I have them like go for a walk or just move the body, do some yoga, like, or just move a little bit. Pretty simple.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and very effective too. Because you have to, when you're exploring even further the relationship between our body and our mind. And we are often programmed / used to our mind and emotion being so separated from our body. So when you take time to do the somatosensory exercises, you're bringing that connection back. That helps us get a better understanding, but also you're looking to the body, right? So then it's from kind of like that, from the body to the mind, and understanding, hey, what we can, another way we can control that, instead of letting the mind run all over the map. Unsupervised.
Yes. So. And then another thing is tapping. Like I like tapping is another way to move the emotions out too. So
exactly.
That's how really ultimately, like, how do we change emotions? How do we process emotions? We feel them, we experience them, we breathe into them, we feel them in our body, we allow them, we welcome them, like, oh, okay, brain, you've got something going on, you've created this emotion, what's going on?
Right. Yeah. I think when we slow down and experience that, that emotion in our mind and our body, oh my goodness, it's just, I feel like it's night and day.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I feel like it's night and day, and it's this, like, I don't know. I wish I could think of a better word than like appreciation, but it's like maybe awe-inspiring, you know, like this. I don't know. Then it makes it, to me, it was like more exciting because I was like, oh my goodness, grief doesn't have to, like, I can embrace it, and you know, and I thought I had to a certain degree, but when that switch, when I understood that and I like flipped that switch, it's just so different. It's so different. A very positive experience.
Well, it makes us feel alive and present in our lives. Right.
Yes.
And human. We're living the human experience when we do that. And so much of the time, a lot of humans are just so automatic. They're living on this automatic loop of programming and like pushing emotions down, that a lot of them feel numb or like hopeless and like, this is it, this is life. Well, we're resisting the human experience.
Right. Yeah, very true.
That's all I got for that one.
Okay. I think that was pretty good.
All right, friends, we'll catch you guys later.